I think you need to have a true conversation about the future of Lincoln Riley at USC. I think
Oh,
that there is a huge conversation that needs to be had about what is going on with USC. The more and more I think about Notre Dame's schedule, of course, Notre Dame coming into the conversation, Notre Dame no longer going to be playing USC. That's another thing as well. But Notre Dame's most signature win this year was probably USC. And that one doesn't even look impressive anymore. The committee finally I think they got it right with the Miami win. I said that earlier today. I think I'm going to say it again. USC, put this together. Lincoln Riley is 35-18 in his first 53 games as USC's head coach. That is the exact same record as Clay Helton had at USC. There is
wow.
no difference to Lincoln Riley compared to Clay Helton, and Clay Helton was kicked out the door.
Yeah.
Now, put in consideration, Lincoln Riley had Caleb Williams couldn't do anything with it. They blamed the
Yeah.
defense. But again, losing in the Alamo Bowl to TCU, a TCU team, an 8-4 TCU team that didn't have their quarterback in Josh Hoover, and USC couldn't get the job done. I mean, it just absolutely insane. I think you have to have a conversation about moving on from Lincoln Riley.
I think so too. I think we also need to probably have a conversation maybe on this show just about conferences and bowl games, because I think the Big 12 is shocking some people there, and more so
Big
maybe
10
the
and
Big
Big
10.
12, yeah. But
Big,
not the Big 10 in this case, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's definitely been some shocking results compared to what we were supposed to see all season long. I thought that this was not even close. But as far as the actual USC deal, yeah, that it's just not. I guess the question is, what do you expect as far as wins? What do you expect as far as offensive production? Because if this is what you expect, then I guess no, you don't move on from Lincoln Riley. If this is the standard you expect, that you want upheld, don't move on. Like, nothing's going to change. But if you want something better, if you want more wins, you want more offensive production, I do think it's time to move on. And maybe it's just not a good fit, because we know that Lincoln Riley was really good at Oklahoma. I'm not saying it was a bad hire. The thought process
Was he,
was there.
though? Was he the reason Oklahoma's doing good or was doing good? Check this out. Oklahoma has more 10-win seasons under Brent Venables than USC since Lincoln Riley's left. Oklahoma is
Hmm.
in a much better position than USC is right now. And
See,
when
I
you're
didn't know
going
that.
back to the same Notre Dame USC relationship conversation, I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think Notre Dame upgraded their schedule by putting BYU on there instead of USC, because I
Oh,
think
that's
BYU
for
is in a
sure.
better trajectory than USC is right now. And that's completely pointing at Lincoln Riley, saying, I don't think he has what it takes. USC killed the Pac 12 just so they could go 9-4 and lose to TCU in the Alamo Bowl, so they could run away from Oregon, so they could run away from Washington, so they could run away from Kyle Whittingham at Utah. Well, guess what? Now they're in the Big Ten, and they got Oregon, and they got Washington, and now they got Kyle Whittingham at Michigan. It's just all there. It's all there. And now you have to worry about Lincoln Riley, who, if you look at their schedule next year, it doesn't get any better. If you think 9-4 is a bad year for USC, and you want to talk about these big conferences not being able to have parity when it comes to schedule strength, if you will, Ohio State is the biggest question we just mentioned early in this show. Listen to USC's schedule next year. They're at Indiana. They're at Penn State. They play Ohio State. They play Oregon, and they play Washington. They play all of them. If you think 9-4 was bad, do you see them winning any of those games? Maybe Penn State. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe Washington. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't feel too confident about that. No, but who? Okay, so the question is, there's been so much coaching turnover
So
this
much.
year. Do they make the move this year? I mean, with
I don't
Michigan and
think
what they
so.
went through, we were already having the conversation of like, did they get totally, kind of the short end of the stick here with there's nobody left. I can't believe that they got Kyle Whittingham. That was some sort of a weird hail. That feels like Phillip Rivers coming back to the Colts is what that feels like. Because I thought he was retired, but it was like maybe he's not retired. But then would Michigan actually, like, it was kind of a weird situation,
Yeah.
with Matt Campbell moving and James Franklin at VT. Like, it doesn't feel like there's a ton of coaches right now that are on the move. That would be a significant upgrade from Lincoln Riley, but maybe they could pull some coordinator somewhere, or a lower head coach. It just feels like with the Michigan job opening up, everyone was kind of like, well, nobody saw this coming. I don't think Michigan's going to bounce back from this. How would USC be any different?
You're right. I don't think you can make the move now. Now, on the flip side, though, a lot of people think the best 2 hires of the season have been Kyle Whittingham and Matt Campbell, who both those schools waited forever, either
True.
made the hire at the end or waited forever to make the hire. And a lot of people are saying that's the best one. So maybe if you have somebody in mind, what I think is this. I think next year, even with the crazy schedule that USC has in front of them, is Lincoln Riley's test year. You give him the keys, you let him do everything he needs to do in the portal, and you go ahead and say, hey, prove that you can take USC back to where it was, back to the Pete Carroll days, back to the Reggie Bush days, back to being ahead of, you've seen Matt Leinart talk about how he's not worried about this loss against the Alamo in the Alamo Bowl against TCU. When he was the quarterback, they obviously won national championships. They got to bring it back to that conversation. If they can't do that next year, at least put them in consideration for making the college football playoffs, even with this crazy schedule, then I think you move on. And you go right off the bat and you make Kalani Sitake tell you no. That is the first person you go to at USC.
That would shake up college football.
I think he's the right fit for USC. And of course, BYU has done everything they can to keep him around. They've brought crumble cookies into the mix. If I'm USC and Lincoln Riley doesn't work out, I am making Kalani Sitake tell me no. Kalani Sitake.
So how many losses then? 2 losses early and they're not necessarily moving on, but pulling a Jamie Pollard, got someone in their back pocket.
You got to do something. Yeah. I mean, of course, this is rough. I mean, I think you can't go 9-3. I think you have to go 10-2 next year. And that's a wild ask. That's a wild schedule. Yeah.
That is a very difficult schedule. I will give them credit here though. There was a lot of talk about like Penn State, and one bad year from Franklin and he's out of the door. I can't believe Matt Campbell took that job. I still feel that way a little bit. But if you're anyone looking to take the USC job, they really have given quite the leash to Lincoln Riley. I mean, this is 2021, 4 years, and not a whole lot has happened, to be completely honest. They really have not made a ton of noise. And as much as I hate to be that guy, unfortunately, Curt Cignetti has changed what new coaching hires can look like in college football. It doesn't, take 4 or 5 years anymore. It can be a quick 2 years, which what Indiana has done in 2 years is beyond insane. So I don't think anybody's expecting that. But, you can go from a 4, 5, 6 win team, obviously USC right now, a 9-win team, to, if you go from 4, 5, 6 to maybe 8, 9 wins in 2 years, you can easily do that with the amount of turnover teams are seeing in the portal. I mean, Iowa State is going to be, you could basically give Iowa State new colors, and Oklahoma State probably too, new colors, new mascot, new team name, and nobody would even think twice because there's nobody else nobody's returning. No coaches, no players, like obviously a few, and that's an exaggeration, but my point remains that college football is at a massive turnover stage. So teams like USC, if they bring in a Kalani Sitake and they go, they barely are bowl eligible next year, well, the next year, Kalani Sitake could take them to the college football playoffs. That's just that's what football is right now.
You're entering year 3 in the Big Ten for USC. At this moment in time, you are not putting USC in that tier 1 of what the Big Ten looks like.
Absolutely not.
When you were with the Pac-12, USC was seen as one of the top dogs in that conference for the longest time. You made the move. You are one of the biggest reasons why the Pac-12 died, and you went to the Big Ten. And you're not seen. You were 7-6 in year 1. You were 9-4 this year. You can say that's progress, but when you look at what the schedule is heading into next year, that doesn't make you feel excited. It doesn't make you feel excited at all when your losses are to Illinois, Notre Dame, and Oregon on the schedule from this year, of course, and then the TCU loss. This just proves that this realignment thing isn't always better. Grass isn't always greener. The money might be greener, but if you're looking for success in the long term, it's not good. USC is, I think, a perfect example of that.
Yeah, man. I mean, this job is bad for my brain because I feel like I can complain about this time after time after time about how much I hate college football, like realignment and what the conferences are doing, but it's never going to change anything. I was just looking through USC schedule this year. Their biggest win, a lot of people are saying it's like Iowa, we both know that that's not true. That was a fraudulent Iowa team. But what is it? Michigan then 31-13. Michigan was
probably
a
the
pretty good
Michigan
team.
win. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably the biggest win they've had.
But other than that,
and then Iowa's probably their second best win though.
Jiminy creaminy. That's a sad season. But I mean, out of the 9 wins, you beat UCLA, Northwestern, Nebraska. I guess Nebraska's a pretty decent win. I don't know if they had Dylan Raiola at that point. I'd have to look into that. Michigan State, Purdue, Georgia Southern, Missouri State. Which of those teams, other than Michigan and I guess Iowa, is like you got 9 wins? Yeah, that's progress. But who'd you?
And then you got to look in the future. Like, do you think Lincoln Riley makes the jump up, or does a guy like Pat Fitzgerald at Michigan State take the jump before he does? See, like you're looking at the rest of that quote unquote lower tier in the Big Ten right now, not the top tier teams. And do they jump USC? When you're trying to get Lincoln Riley to make that jump and USC to make that jump, do other teams that have made these crazy coaching changes to get back to relevancy, do they do it before USC and continue to bury this team that is right now not being considered a college football playoff contender? And when you are a school like USC, who, if you put their resume up over the last 50, 60 years to compared to most, it's pretty good. They would consider them maybe even a blue blood of the sport. They should be competing, and they're not.
No. And I would say that, yeah, there's a very real chance that they get surpassed and they kind of move into that bottom tier of what the Big Ten is. That's how I've viewed them. And when looking at their schedule, like, yeah, you see the 9 wins and you're like, ooh, they had a pretty good year. Like, obviously, if Iowa State had 9 wins, it'd be a different year. No, they didn't play anybody. Like, if you beat Georgia Southern 9 times, you got 9 wins, but I'm not impressed.
If you're cutting the Big Ten in half, USC is closer to that second half than they are the first half. That's at this moment in time. Absolutely. And if you are hoping that Lincoln Riley can fix that, I just don't know if he can. So I think this is the year. You have 1 year left, I think. Hot seat alert for sure. Lincoln Riley is on the hot seat for me.